Welcome to Engineering Influence podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. Today we're kicking off a round robin series of interviews with our incoming members of Executive Committee. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Dan Meckes of Missouri.
Yes.
And welcome, number one, to Washington. Orientation, number one, and 2 days of pretty much your rundown of ACEC National and all it has to offer. What are your thoughts as you kind of, look forward to your term on XCOM?
Well, I guess I'm going to find out what I'm getting into here at the orientation, right? So, but I'm really looking forward to it. I know that what ACEC has done for not only me personally, but for Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley and our industry. So, it touches individuals, it touches companies, and it touches our industry. So I'm looking forward to my term on XCOM.
Well, you'll get to know a lot more people, of course, with this position on XCOM and coming up, of course, with our spring convention. Tell for those who have not met you, for those who may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, your firm, what you specialize in, and kind of what drove you to get to this point.
Okay, well, I've actually been with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley. It'll be 40 years in September. So, our firm's founders, Lynn Crawford, who was a CEC, Consulting Engineers Council president at one time in his career, he just had a vision and, developed a culture at CM&T years ago that has been passed on from generation to generation. I'm the fifth generation CEO at CM&T. And, I think my job there is just to continue to nurture that culture. And I think we've done a good job of that. We've got, 25 offices throughout 8 states. We work in the surface transportation area, water resources, aviation, and then building and site services, which is our land development group. We've got about 400 people. We're growing, and thanks in large part to what ACEC has been able to accomplish. So,
certainly those are areas that are ripe for investment, especially now with bipartisan infrastructure.
Right.
Looking ahead at, we're right in the middle of implementation. We're getting into the new Congress. The Senate has its, it's the end of the month, but it's the first legislative week of the Senate. The House is in process of kind of figuring itself out. What do you see as one of the biggest challenges ahead when it comes to surface transportation and infrastructure investment? Where do you think ACEC fits in that discussion?
Well, I think for one, I think all of us in our industry, we're looking for people. And immigration is, I think, something that could be used to help find people for us. We have people from other countries coming to our universities, and then a lot of times they're having to go back to their country. Well, we could use those people in our industry here in the United States. So if Congress could help us on that, I think that'd be very beneficial.
Yeah, especially when we train the engineers, American universities, and then they go back home. Why not recapture that talent?
Exactly.
So knowing that your multi-generational interest in first CEC and then of course ACEC, what's probably the biggest deciding factor on why ACEC membership for your firm and its employees is so critical?
Well, one, it's about the relationships, right? We compete with all the firms, that are members of ACEC, many of the firms, but develop so many deep friendships throughout because of ACEC, both ACEC Illinois and ACEC Missouri. I've been part of both of those organizations and just developed great friendships. And then I've seen what some of the people, that have served on XCOM, Satch Picori, Ed Elizade, personal friends. And then I've also seen what ACEC National could do when I was on the board for ACEC Missouri. Phil Hauser and Charlie G would come to our Missouri meetings and emphasize the importance of PAC. We had never met our PAC goal. And then, it was one of my goals as ACEC Missouri president to reach our PAC goal. And thanks to XCOM and ACEC National, we were able to do that. And Missouri's met that goal ever since.
Absolutely. As is always in the hunt. And that's, of course, a critical part of our advocacy program, that political program.
Yes.
Given looking ahead, actually, at the time that you're on X comment, seeing where ACE is now, where do you want to push it? You have a year to kind of help influence that process of pushing the organization forward, focusing its edge and advocacy and communications and membership. Where do you see, you pushing the organization?
Well, I think some of the challenges that I see are in the technology area.
Yeah.
And then also just insurance. I mean, health insurance, professional liability insurance, and ACEC can help with all of those things. On the technology side, we're seeing just skyrocketing costs. And so I don't know if, ACEC can form some sort of committee or subcommittee to help firms, medium-sized firms, smaller-sized firms, really adjust to those costs that we're seeing on the technology side.
Yeah. And I know we're looking at establishing a technology committee and actually looking into those things.
Yeah.
That's a new area. Well, of course, we're always interested in technology. We're always interested in what the firms are using, but this seems to be more of a push towards assisting firms take advantage of that technology that's out there. In your time in as an engineer and also in leadership, what's your view on how that shifted, like how much technology has impacted the industry?
Well, I think it allows, engineers to develop better solutions to society's problems. And, when I was growing up in the engineering field, we had board drafts, right? And so you really had one chance to go through an iteration. You could make some changes, but now with technology, you can make iterative changes, dynamic process. And I think we're seeing that our engineers coming out of school are really, really well prepared to tackle these problems.
Yeah.
So
we just need to prepare our firms to be able to have those technology solutions in place.
Right.
To take advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, that's the other thing ACEC does, just being able to share best practices. I did go through the Senior Executive Institute, and just, learning from other firms and other leaders is really important. So.
Yeah, we look at all the SEI is a great example of the educational programs, but then coalitions and then committees, forums. If there's someone out there who's on the fence, who's an executive in an engineering firm, it's like, I don't know, maybe ACEC isn't the place for me. What would you tell them? What would be like kind of the elevator pitch that would really make them cross the line and become members?
I believe it's, again, I think, one, the relationships and just sharing best practices and hearing what other firms are doing.
Yeah.
I think also you're seeing more partnerships on projects. Projects are getting larger. And so, you're seeing more partnering on projects, and that's where you meet the people to develop those relationships to partner. It's all about trust in everything we do. And so that's where you develop the relationships, is at the ACEC, not just meetings, but, the calls and, the other functions that go on.
Well, it's going to be, we're getting ready for a very busy spring and summer. And of course, it all kicks out now with the orientation.
Yeah.
So look forward to 2 days of boot camp for ACEC National. But welcome to XCOM, Dan.
Thank you, Jeff.
And it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Really looking forward to it. So thanks for your time today.
Absolutely. And again, it was great to be joined by Dan Meckes, a new incoming member of the Executive Committee at ACEC. And this has been Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. We'll see you next time.